In warfare, a skilled commander will always find ways to make the enemy move according to their plan, rather than being moved by the enemy. By Sun Tzu. Hello everyone, welcome to my discussion on Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Today, we're diving into the 6th chapter, Weak Points and Strong. This chapter starts with the control of time and space, highlighting the importance of taking and keeping the initiative. The main point is winning by adapting to the enemy. It argues that in war, one should follow the strategy of avoiding the enemy's strengths and attacking their weaknesses, and winning by adapting to the enemy, without being restricted by conventional methods. When two armies engage in battle, generally the one that arrives at the battlefield first can seize the initiative and wait for the enemy at ease, while the one that arrives later will be rushed and exhausted. Therefore, a skilled commander will always find ways to make the enemy move according to their plan, rather than being moved by the enemy. The ability to draw the enemy to a battlefield of our choosing is the result of tempting them with advantages. Preventing the enemy from reaching their chosen battlefield first is a way of constraining them with disadvantages. If the enemy is comfortable and at ease, we should harass and trouble them, making them tired. If the enemy has plentiful supplies, we should find ways to make them hungry and in need. If the enemy is secure and well defended, we should provoke and disturb them, so they cannot remain tranquil and are forced to move. We should strike where the enemy cannot rush to aid, and attack under conditions that the enemy has not anticipated. Marching 1,000 miles without fatigue is possible because we move where the enemy is not prepared. Our attacks are bound to succeed because we strike where the enemy is unguarded. Our defenses are impenetrable because we defend where the enemy cannot attack. Thus, the one skilled in offense keeps the enemy unaware of how to defend. The one skilled in defense keeps the enemy unaware of how to attack. It is truly subtle, to the point of being formless. It is a mystery, to the point of being soundless. In this way, one can become the master of the enemy's fate. When we attack, the enemy cannot resist because we target where they are weakest. When we retreat, the enemy cannot pursue because we move too swiftly for them to catch up. If our army wishes to fight, the enemy, even with high walls and deep moats for defense, must come out to meet us in battle because we attack where they must come to aid. If our army does not wish to fight, even if we draw a line on the ground to defend, the enemy will not be able to engage us in battle because we have already altered the direction of their offense. Therefore, by making the enemy reveal themselves while we remain concealed, we can concentrate our forces while the enemies are scattered. If our forces are concentrated at one point and the enemies are scattered across 10, then we attack with 10 times the enemy's strength at that point, thus achieving absolute superiority in that local area. With such an advantageous situation of overwhelming the few with the many, the enemy will have difficulty making a move. The place of decisive battle with the enemy should not be known to them in advance. If the enemy is unaware of the place of battle, they will have to divide their forces to defend multiple locations. With more places to defend, their forces will be spread thin, and thus fewer will be able to engage us directly at a specific location. Therefore, if the enemy focuses on defending the front, the rear will be weak. If they focus on the rear, the front will be weak. If they focus on the left, the right will be weak. If they focus on the right, the left will be weak. If they defend everywhere, they will be weak everywhere. The reason for the enemy's weakness is the dispersion of their forces. Our advantage in concentrating our forces comes from forcing the enemy to spread out to defend against us. Thus, if one knows in advance the place and date of battle, even 1,000 miles march can engage the enemy. If one does not know the place and the time of battle, and encounters the enemy unexpectedly, then the left wing cannot rescue the right cannot rescue the left, the vanguard cannot rescue the rear, nor can the rear rescue the vanguard. Moreover, if the near forces are several miles apart, and the far ones even more so, how can one respond effectively? From my analysis, although the enemy's forces are numerous, what benefit do they have in securing victory in war? Therefore, victory can be created. Although the enemy has many troops, they can be made so scattered that they cannot effectively participate in battle. Through careful analysis, one can judge the strengths and weaknesses of the enemy's battle plans. Through reconnaissance and espionage, one can understand the patterns of the enemy's movements. Through feints and deception, one can understand the enemy's preparedness and weaknesses. Through probing attacks, one can ascertain the strength and distribution of the enemy's forces. When the methods of feinting and deception are used with extreme skill, our forces can become as if invisible, revealing no hint of our presence. To this extent, even the most deeply hidden spies cannot glimpse our true situation, and the most cunning enemy commanders will be at a loss. By flexibly using deception according to the situation to achieve victory, even if victory is placed before everyone's eyes, they will not understand its mysteries. People only know the methods by which our army defeats the enemy, but they do not know how these methods are used to achieve victory. Once victory is achieved, do not repeat the old tactics, but adapt according to the situation. The methods of deception are endless. Therefore, the principles of warfare are like the flow of water. Water avoids high places and flows towards low. The army avoids the enemy's strength and attacks its weakness. Water's flow is determined by the land's contours. The army's victory is determined by the enemy's situation. Thus, there are no constant conditions or rules in warfare, just as flowing water has no constant shape or direction. The one who can achieve victory by adapting flexibly to the enemy's changes is truly like a god in warfare. Hence, the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, interact and overcome each other, and none can always be dominant. The 4 seasons change and cycle, and no season can remain forever. Daytime varies in length, and the moon waxes and wanes. In summary, this chapter presents 3 key points. The first key point is, to form the enemy while remaining formless ourselves. To seize opportunities and defeat the enemy in warfare, it is essential to understand the enemy's reality and illusions. The more detailed, abundant, and specific our knowledge of the enemy's situation, the more targeted our deployment of troops will be. At the same time, we must conceal our own state of reality and illusion, plunging the opponent into a condition of blind groping. If this can be achieved, it can be said that even before the battle has begun, the outcome is already determined. Avoiding the solid and striking the void is the second key point of this chapter. Having understood the enemy's state of reality and illusion, one must also employ the correct tactics. Tactics of direct confrontation, of hardness against hardness, are not considered clever. The clever way is, to avoid the solid and strike the void, to bypass the enemy's strong firepower and forces, and strike where they are weakest. This is the true path to defeating the enemy. To exhaust the enemy when they are at ease, to starve them when they are well fed, to move them when they are stable, is to make the enemy turn from solid to void. This is the most brilliant section of this chapter and the third key point to be discussed. The first 2 points are generally understood by military strategists, who also know how to implement them. However, this third point is the most difficult. To make the enemy obey one's command, to wear them down to the point of collapse, is indeed not an easy task. The excellence of command artistry is demonstrated in these aspects. Finally, Sun Tzu emphasizes, troops do not have constant conditions, water does not have a constant shape. That is to say, in warfare, there are no immutable tactics or strategies. Only the commander who can correctly determine the strategy of combat based on the changing situation of the enemy and the specific circumstances of both the enemy and ourselves can be the God of War, who wins every battle. Thanks for hanging out with me while we dove into Chapter 6 of Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you're digging this stuff, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more chats like this. I love seeing your comments. Catch you next time.